Welcome to the second episode of our podcast, the podcast where I guess I am the boss baby, watches my second movie. This is my second movie. So later in the episode, we're going to be talking about the movie Seven by David Fincher, and I'm sure that will be interesting. I took a lot of notes for that, as did you. I think you said you watched it twice, so I'm excited to see where that goes.
Yes,
Gonna be interesting.
yes, I'm a psychopath. I watch movies twice. I mean, granted, it was because in film class I had an assignment where the teacher was like, "All right, watch this film 5 times, but for each session, you're going to write notes about one specific part of the film." So the first one would be the acting, the second one would be the direction, the third one would be the cinematography and lighting, and then the fourth one would be like the plot. And I'm like,
That's psychotic.
okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm
And then
gonna
you
be a
did it all,
psychopath.
and wait. Did you actually watch it 5 times?
Yes.
What?
The worst part is I don't remember what movie it was. It was a George Clooney movie. That was the only thing.
Wait, and you're probably the only person in that entire class who actually watched it 5 times.
No, it was a group assignment, so we had like 5 other people. Our second showing, my friend was like, "I'm not doing this anymore. Here, have the DVD." And I was like, "Okay."
Everyone else is like, "Yeah, Lane, we watched it 5 times too, right?" And you like winked, but like you didn't realize that they were joking, and you're like, "Yeah, we all watched it 5 times, guys."
They see me watching it in the common room, and they're like, "You're actually doing it?" And I'm just like, papers across the floor with notes like a mad lad going, "Yeah."
I mean, your teacher literally just decided to see if he could waste as much of your time as possible. He's literally like, most movies are what, like 90 minutes to 2 hours. So he's like, okay, here's 10 hours, but also you're going to have to pause it a lot to write notes. So that's like, I don't know, like 12 hours of your time for like
I
what, I assume, was it like a weekly assignment?
No, it was a month assignment.
Okay, that's
It
fair.
was our
But like,
final.
I mean, I can't even watch a whole movie in a month, dude. It was so hard. I kept putting it off.
I literally watched Seven the day after we did the first recording
Why? Why?
because it came in. It came in from the mail. Like I bought the Blu-ray. It came in, and I was like, "Oh, it's right here. I
You're like,
have
oh,
some free time."
I have to watch it. Okay. The first game that I'm gonna talk about is called Abiotic Factor. Have you heard about this game at all?
No, but I did see your YouTube video posting on it. It's like some scientists doing like a Left 4 Dead style gameplay. That's why I kind of interpreted from the little bit I looked at.
No, it's not Left 4 Dead at all. It's a co-op online survival crafting game.
Oh, okay.
So you like collect resources and create stuff to use. The premise of the game is kind of like, you've played Half-Life 1?
Yeah, I have played Half-Life 1.
Okay. So like instead of Gordon Freeman, the premise is more like there's like 1 to 6 scientists and they have to try to solve the problem. And they're the dumb nerds from Half-Life 1 who literally can't do anything. You make a gun that's like it's a crossbow, but it's like you shoot pens out of it. And
Okay.
you gotta shoot the little head crab looking dudes with it. So that's like the kind of thing like it's really interesting because you fight like a couple different enemies that are all like there's little aliens that run around. The art style is very similar to Half-Life 1. Like if you look at the trailer, like it looks like all the guys have like these low poly faces and stuff. But yeah, this game's really fun. I've been playing it with Brett. Trying to think if there's much else to even say about it. It has good crafting mechanics. You have a bunch of different stats in the game that you both pick at the beginning and then you level up throughout the course of the game as you do them. So there's like cooking and stuff. You can learn how to make different kinds of soup.
So, question on this. Is there plot in this? or is it
Yes.
okay?
There is some kind of plot as you go around. There'll be recordings. You'll meet a bunch of characters actually, all around. Like you'll find some guy in a closet, and he'll tell you some stuff. Each NPC you encounter gives you like 3 or 4 lines of dialogue. So there'll just be like some guy hiding in a closet, and he'll be like, "Oh, things are bad around here. Someone said that you can find this over in this area. Anyway, close the door. I don't want to die. I'm gonna stay in this closet."
The art style and everything does give me vibes of scientists will come up to you, say the most insane thing ever, and then just dies.
Yeah, there's a part like that very early on where it's like you gotta open this door because there's a guy behind it and he wants to be let into the cafeteria, and then you open it and he just gets murdered. It's funny though because there's another guy in the cafeteria and he's just sitting there, just on the bench, and he's there the whole game. He's like, "Hey guys, you guys go do whatever. I'm gonna stay here."
I'm just going to stay here and enjoy my pizza. Okay, just just leave me alone, guys.
I played that game for a total of 15 hours so far.
Oh wow.
I played maybe like 10ish, 8ish hours with Brett, and then I played a bit on my own, just because I was having fun with it. And it's a pretty good like single player podcast type game. Uh, you can build lots of interesting stuff. Like I would say, out of everything that I've crafted, I probably have like 50 or so different craft variations, different weapons, armor, medicine. You can even craft like traps and stuff that are pretty cool. Like there's a little shock trap that you can put on the ground.
So
Yeah,
are you?
I don't know. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
no. So are you like objective A to objective B, or is it like more like defend tower defense?
So it's a Wayne. What was the last survival crafting game that you played? Have you?
I want to
What, are
say
you
the
gonna say
forest.
Minecraft? Okay, the forest. Did we play the forest together?
Yes, we did. With Brett
Okay.
also.
Okay, it's very similar to the forest in that you start in an area, and the objective of the game is to explore the area and gather resources that let you progress through like locked doors. The point that me and Brett are at is you start in an area, I think it's called like the research area or something, and everyone's telling you about how there's some people who broke into a different area, the manufacturing area, and things are really bad over there. And so you decide that you're going to gather resources and go to the manufacturing area to see what's up there, see what's going on. Uh, and you find like a guy who's like bleeding out next to a forklift, and he's like, "Yeah, there's some. I closed the door because the guys in manufacturing shot me." And they're like, "We don't know who they are." So there's like soldiers, kind of like Half-Life 1 actually, where the soldiers attack. There's that part. So me and Brett eventually did a bunch of stuff to get to that area. You have to explore the whole area, which is pretty big. Brett somehow still gets lost in it, even though I'm the one with like the trouble with directions. But you go through the whole area. We had to like kill like these big robot things that were really hard to fight to get a thing that only they drop, so that we can make a way to open the door. And then as soon as we get to the next area, there are guys there with guns, and they will shoot you, and they hurt. So you have to be a bit more strategic in the way that you fight them, and there's like a ton of them.
Okay.
So the difficulty definitely goes up, and there's a little bit of other things like in the game as well. Like there's a teleporter that you can activate that goes to a separate world. Uh, so like there's one that you go to that goes to like the Silent Hill S town that has like a Silent Hill parody name. I don't remember what it is, but it has that, and there's like these giant monsters that can't be killed that you have to avoid. So like they definitely vary up the gameplay, which is interesting. Um, the other thing is that in this game you have a lot of things that you have to manage for your survival. Most games have hunger and thirst or whatever. This game has those. It also has your
Oh.
warmth. So at night it gets cold, and you can do certain things to like counteract that. And then the best one, of course, is that you have your shit meter. As you walk around and as you eat and drink things, it goes up. And if it goes all the way up, and you can't find a bathroom, well, you shit yourself.
So somehow this game has turned into The Sims.
It's very weird, although like little stuff that it has. You can tell that they put a lot of work into it, and they're still constantly updating it. So it's honestly really fun.
Yeah, the only one I really played was The Forest. I had a lot of fun with that because I played it with you and Brett. If I played it by myself, I would not have any fun whatsoever.
If I played The Forest by myself, I would probably be scared because the game is somewhat terrifying, like with the little like cultist dudes.
I just remember we were building in the dark and we just hear a noise and we all go, "What was that? Run, run, run!"
That was one of the coolest things about that game, and apparently they improved upon it a lot in the sequel. But like how the AI works in that game was crazy.
Yeah, and the enemy design was terrifying.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I'll definitely put this game on the list of games I would like to buy when I get PC. Ah, you
do! Games that everyone will be done playing with by the time I get a PC. Speaking of games that are gonna be forgotten, Lane, tell me about the game that you played about a crab.
This game won't be forgotten. That's rude.
That's my segue, Lane. Go ahead.
That's rude. That's rude. Okay.
That's my segue, apparently.
So I played Another Crab's Treasure. So this is by the studio Aggro Crab.
$30. Holy.
So you're a hermit crab named Curlin, and the start of the game, you're in this beautiful shell, and this shark comes out, and he's a lone shark, and he's like, "Hey, you're in this area that's been taken over by the queen, and she's forcing everybody in this area to pay taxes." And you're like, "What's a tax? Huh? Oh, sorry. Yeah, you have to pay taxes now. I'm going to have to take your shell away." So that's the plot of the game. The loan shark takes your shell, and then so you go into the ocean, and the loan shark is explaining to you that currency is microplastics. So that's like your souls, because Another Crab Treasure is a Souls-like game.
Mm-hmm.
But what really makes it stand out from other Souls-like games
is that you're a crab.
Is the shells that you use, actually. Because the ocean is covered in trash, other things that you can use as your own shell. Mm-hmm. So you can use stuff like shot glasses, coconuts, soda cans.
What you're saying is this game is like like environmental damage.
Yes, because everybody was like, "Oh, like one of the first things you do is you're like, oh, I have kelp. Does that count for taxes?" And the loan shark's like, "No, nobody uses that anymore. Everybody uses microplastics. What's wrong with you?" And the kelp is your health. It's your health potions. And so so the core mechanic of the game is you have your shells. They have magic abilities. So like, for example, I have a shot glass. If I use the magic, it will grow out glass shards. So if an enemy strikes me, it will take damage when I guard. And then each shell has a different durability. So like, obviously the shot glass, it takes one shot to break because it's glass.
So when they break, you just have to find another shell?
Yeah, so there's multiple shells everywhere.
That's really cool, honestly. Like, they're like temporary upgrades that you switch between.
Yes, and some boss areas
It's kind of like a
help
roguelike game
you
in
with
that
those
way.
fights because there's one boss where one of the shells that you can use is a dead crab, and it has the ability that's called decoy, where you would whip it off, and it would act as a decoy while the boss strikes it. So you can run over and then you can attack it while it's distracted.
This game seems really cool.
It's really fun. They're constantly updating it because there is some minor glitches. In that same boss fight, it is a punch. It's the piston prawn. If you don't know what the piston prawn in real life is, it is the most powerful animal in the United Kingdom because its punch is as powerful as the sun explosions that you see on it. Like, it can literally break things with its punches.
Okay.
And so it has a Sekiro style moveset where it has a teleporting move to punch you. And you have to time the dodge correctly. Otherwise,
Interesting.
yeah. So there was one time where I dodged it almost correctly, but it cost me to jump up, and I went above the skybox,
Oh wow.
which was above the water. So I just teleported up there. But yeah, it has a really cool shell system. The parry is spectacular because how I use the parry is the parry happens when you let go of your shield, or when you pull your shield at the same time of the strike. And so what I'm do is I guard, and as soon as they're
Oh,
about
and then
to
you can
connect,
let go.
I
That's
would parry.
weird. That's
Yeah,
different.
yeah, it's like the opposite of Dark Souls on the
Well, no,
parry.
you said it works the way Dark Souls does too, right? When you pull it up.
Yeah, you can do it both ways.
Well, I guess that's not how Dark Souls works. You have to just press a separate button. There's a different game that
Oh,
does that, like I don't know, like Wulong or something like that. Anyway, this game seems really cool. Have you seen what happens when you turn the game difficulty down?
yeah. So I did test out the difficulty because you get a gun.
Yeah. I saw like the only thing I've seen of this game is I saw like 3 minutes of like Vinny Vine Sauce's stream or something. And he's like, guys, this game is too hard. I'm turning down the difficulty. And he turned it down and he got a gun. And I was like, okay, I'm sold.
So that gun insta kills everything,
Yeah.
including bosses.
All right. Any final thoughts on this game?
The only thing I want to touch on the top of that is I haven't finished the game. I'm 80% done with it. I'm in the final boss area. Also, this game has really fun platforming. It's also a platformer.
Hmm. Like
Because it
Elden
has,
Ring.
to a extent, yes, it has like a really cool hover system. So like you run, jump, and then you hover for a little bit because you're in the water. So you're like swimming through the water. And there was this segment that drew me off because it was in like a cave where there was pockets of air. So when you jump through that, your mind thinks, "Oh, I'm going to hover," but you can't because you're in the air. So you just kind of jump and oh, I can't hover anymore. Well, this is awkward. The only boss I'll say that was my favorite is, because I don't want to spoil the rest of the bosses, it's a crab trap that is full of fishes and a octopus that rolls around trying to crush you. And to kill it, you have to kill it, you would have to break the rope that's tying the crab trap together. The only other thing that I want them to fix, and it would be a perfect game for me, is the map. So you can see where you're at in the map, but you can't move around the map. Like you can't go, oh, I want to see what's over there. Let me move the map over there. It's just locked in the screenshot of the map. That's like the only major complaint I have. and I want to say Aggro Crab has heard people complain about it and are going to update it shortly.
Okay, cool. Well, this game seems pretty cool. Hopefully, I'll get to play it someday. I'll probably wait till it goes on sale for cheap. Or till, Game Pass or Brett Pass or whatever. One of those things.
I think it is on Game Pass.
Oh, it definitely could be. Alright, so the next game that I played was V Rising. Have you heard of this game?
I did not. I looked at the screenshots and I went, what is this?
So it's another survival crafting game. So this time it's a top-down game that kind of looks like, like top-down isometric view, looks like Diablo or whatever, where your character's in the middle of the screen and you walk around. So you play as a vampire. That's the biggest difference compared to other games. So you'll walk around and you're like, oh, hey, there's a wolf. I'm going to fight this wolf. So you have like different abilities that you unlock throughout the game that you can switch between. But you start with, like a sword, and then like you have a couple different abilities. Like there's one that's like a counter, like a parry type thing. And then there's one where you shoot out like a blast. And then depending on which type you'll get like different blood powers over the course of the game. So like the first one you'll start with is just, it shoots out a projectile, right? And then later on, you'll maybe get one like you'll shoot out a projectile that freezes enemies. Or you'll shoot out one that if it kills an enemy, you'll get like a little temporary like skeleton that fights with you. That's basically the combat. It's pretty simple. The combat is okay, but then there's also survival crafting in the game. And the way that it works is you hit trees with your sword, you get wood. There you go. Same with everything
Minecraft.
else. Enemies drop things. Everything you destroy drops things. Rocks will drop rocks. And you can build a little house. And the reason that's really important is that there is a day and night cycle in this game. Ooh. And if you stand in the sunlight for too long, you will die. Because you're a vampire. So whenever you're in the sunlight, it'll, like, after, like, 3 seconds, you'll just be hit by the sunlight and start, I don't know, you probably die in, like, 4 or 5 seconds. Die really fast when you're in the sun.
Okay, so it's not slow like poison, it's like quick poison, or...
No, it's like you were not instantly, but very, like, it's slow enough so that if there's shade near you, you can probably get to it before you die.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. The survival crafting stuff is like okay. It's like this weird thing where you kind of have to balance that with the combat. If you find them equally fun, then you'll probably really like the game. If you like one way more than the other, then it might be not as fun for you. Or that's a reason that you could play the game in co-op, I guess. This does have online co-op, and it does have servers. Like, you can technically play online in a server with other people. Do you know how, like, the Rust servers work?
No, actually.
So, the way the Rust servers work is they'll have servers that are... I don't know it super well, so I might be kind of wrong. But you can have, like, say you have 32 people on a server. You'll have your people that you play with, and you guys decide to go play on an online server. There'll be other people on the server who you'll have to interact with when you meet them. You might fight them, or you might talk to them, you might cooperate. But, like, apparently you can do that on this game, which is interesting. So, like, you can attack each other's bases and destroy all their stuff and kill them and that kind of thing. So, yeah, I haven't tried that at all, so I don't know what that's like. I imagine it's probably, like, a big time investment.
So there is an option for multiplayer and just single player, right?
Yes, you could do single player, you could do multiplayer on your own private, like, game, or you could do online with other, like, random people. So okay. There's a couple different options for how to play. Yeah, that's pretty much it. The big gameplay loop in this game is that you actually have to go and fight bosses, because every time you go and you fight a new boss, it drops new crafting recipes, and that's kind of how you progress in the game. I didn't get super far in it. It was okay, but it wasn't, like, super fun solo. So maybe one day I'll play it with Brett. Unfortunately, Brett's the only person who owns it in our Steam family, so we can't play it together unless someone else buys it. And it's kind of expensive, actually. It's like 30-40 bucks. So
Youch. I don't know. Something about top down Diablo style games just don't really connect with me as much.
yeah, I mean, it's not Diablo style. Like there isn't like
I mean, like camera, not style.
yeah, it's really weird, especially for like crafting. Like the crafting can be kind of awkward. Like I couldn't figure out for the longest time how to put a roof over my house, which is really important because the sun was like killing me. Uh,
Quick,
turns
the
out that
sun!
you have to both get stone and you have to make enough walls so that it creates like a house kind of, and then it will automatically put a roof over it. It's super weird because I don't know how you would even do like craft it anyway with the camera. It would be really tough. But yeah, it's okay. Um, I do want to play it more, but probably not unless I play it in co-op. Don't have a good segue. How was Crow Country? I've heard this game is really good.
So, this is a love letter to survival horror and a perfect entry into survival horror if you're curious about it. Um, so, I would say the best way to describe this is it's an indie game that mimics a PS1 style survival horror game with this unique claymation style aesthetic to it that almost looks like Final Fantasy VII character models.
Oh yeah, I can kind of see that. I could see like that or like kind of reminds me of how Dark Cloud looks.
Oh yeah. So Crow Country is a very fun game that highly focuses on the story and the puzzle aspect. Combat is more it it's like every survival horror game where you can just ignore enemies. But what makes it really unique is this game requires you to fully pay attention to the environment because there will be like little snippets that you'll see that will be a big reveal later on. Um, the characters like Maria, no, not Maria, Maya, Mara. Uh, she's like a very fun, snippy girl. Like she'll interact with other people, and they're like, "What are you doing here?" And she's like, "What are you doing here?" I do my own thing. Um, a cop will show up later because there's a bit where you show up. So you show up at a amusement park trying to find the founder of it, Mr. Crow. Hence, that's why the amusement park is called Crow County. And you show up in a car, and it's you find out later that you stole the car from your boss, and he comes with a bicycle, and he drags the bicycle with him along the park as you run into him. He's just like, huh, I have to drag this stupid bike with me all the time. And you just look at it and it's like a girl's bike. And you're like, it suits you. Um, but yeah, as for the mechanic of the game, um, it's it does both ways. It does like old style and new style, where you can move around either tank control with the D-pad or the thumbstick, and you have fully control of the camera. So the background feels like it's the pre-rendered background of Resident Evil and Silent Hill of Resident Evil, but it moves and feels more like Silent Hill, where you can move around, you can move the camera. Um, and then as you progress through the story, what makes it really challenging later on is the area gets more polluted with enemies. So at the beginning of the game, you're going through the amusement park. You see like one or two enemies, which are called the guests. And later on, you would start running into more different types of guests. So like you have this really spooky tall skeleton guy where he has like no fat on his limbs. You just see the head, and it's really difficult to fight because you can only aim at the head. And then it would also populate the area with traps. So you would have like little mines that would poison you. You have little crow heads that would shoot poison at you. You have chandeliers. If you walked underneath it, it would fall down and hit you. But the game is super generous also because it gives you a lot of health and bullets. But that also affects your ranking at the end. So if you use less healing items, you will get a higher rank.
Is there like multiple endings at all? Do you know?
No, there's no multiple endings. Although the ending itself is one of my favorite endings to a silent horror. To a survival horror game.
Your favorite endings to the one of the two survival horror games that you played?
I played several survival horror games. I
That
played
are-
Fatal Frame, Silent Hill, Resident Evil.
You haven't played any survival horror Resident Evil games, really. I mean, besides what? Like, oh, I don't. Sorry, I don't mean that as in survival horror. I mean like the classic games.
Oh, classic. Okay, yeah. I haven't played the classic Resident Evil ones. But
I'm just trying to get into my joke of saying Lane continuously tries to find a game that plays exactly like the game that he refuses to play.
Shaking my head. That requires me to set up my PlayStation 3 because I have it on my PlayStation 3.
Oh yeah, because you can't just play all the games on the same thing.
Feels bad.
You play
Anyhow,
FF7 and Elden Ring on the same console.
yeah, that's what my PS5 is for.
Yeah, but you also can't play Halo though.
Why would I want to play Halo?
I don't know. I couldn't think of another Xbox game.
Exactly.
You can't play Hi-Fi Rush, remember?
I did. I just had to
know.
wait for a year.
You just had to wait a whole year, and then by that point, Wayne, because of you not buying it, they had to shut down the studio.
No, don't pin it on me.
Man, fuck Microsoft. That's
Yeah, fuck Microsoft.
But yeah, this game looks really cool. It reminds me of Signalis, except the art is completely different.
Yes.
Except I feel like Signalis was the last like really popular like survival horror game like this, where it was like a new indie game that came out.
That just completely blew everybody away.
Yeah, this one's like been really popular though. This one might be more popular than Signalis was actually.
So the funny thing is, the developers who made this made the really popular Nintendo game on the Switch called Snippet.
This game actually has more reviews than Signalis.
Oh, really?
That kind of sucks, dude. Signalis is great. I mean, this game visually, I like how this game looks more than Signalis. Like, it's cool looking.
Another unique thing about Crow County is you don't have a melee. So if you find crates, you have to use your gun to open them.
Oh, that's really weird.
Yeah, so you would have to go. So you get two types of crate. You get a glass jar, so you can see what's in it. Or you get a wooden crate, which you can't see what's in it. Yeah.
It's okay, Lane. Some people who play survival horror games actually open every crate with their gun.
That's what I did. That's what I did.
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah, well, the game is really generous with its weapons. So I never was like struggling to run out. The only weapon that was very scarce was the Magnum weapon. because because this game also has secrets. So there's 15 secrets that you can find, and how many you find would also affect your ending score. And Magums is that, along with like secret weapons and weapon upgrades. The weapon upgrades is great because you talk to a little mushroom guy, and he's like, "I'm a little mushroom guy. Hey, you have a handgun? I can upgrade that for you." He's just a little mushroom guy.
All right, so Lane, we have approximately 5, 6, 7, 8 more things to talk about, and we are already at the 40-minute point. So let's.
That's why I try and keep my list short, Mister. Every time I check this list, it gets longer.
Lane, we know the real reason why your list is short. It's because you don't have enough time to do anything.
Well, did you finish any of your games? Because I finished my games.
Lane, the 4 games that I have on here, 3 of them are either not finishable or they're not really finishable games.
So I'm hearing excuses.
The other one takes over 100 hours to finish, and I'm kind of like lukewarm on it, so I don't even know if I'm gonna finish it. All right,
no.
The next game is Cult of the Lamb. This was kind of like the last indie darling before Another Crab's Treasure and Crow County for a while. Have you played Cult of the Lamb?
No, I had a roommate that was obsessed with this game, so he talked to me about it a lot.
Yeah, the loop in the game is really addictive. So you have the roguelike little dungeon crawler thing where you go through various randomly generated rooms, beat up enemies, collect resources, do that kind of thing. And then you come back to your cult, where it's like a simulation farm type game where you have all your villagers that need to eat, and they'll get sick or they need sleep, and you have to do stuff to keep them happy. You gotta feed them, you gotta make sure that they stay loyal to you so they don't dissent. Like they'll dissent and get really mad and leave. Premise of the game is simple. You get killed by these 4 guys who are like gods of their cult or whatever, and then the old god or the new god, some god, I don't know which one it is, he revives you and he's like, "You will be my avatar of my cult. I am trapped and chained because of these 4 dudes. You gotta go kill them so I can be free." And you're like, okay. You're like, this guy's probably gonna be the final boss after I beat the other 4 guys. But, for now, it's like, you're his guy, so you gotta build up a cult for him. Game is really good, really fun. It's very cute. Like, if you just watch, the lamb character just, stand there and, do his little dance, I don't know, he's very cute looking. As are all the little villagers.
I've seen the art style. I love the art. The fun thing is the lamb that you control. You can get a skin of him in Another Crab's Treasure.
Oh, cool. Yeah, there's other references, I think, because this is the Devolver Digital game that you can get. I haven't unlocked it, but I think one of the skins that you can get is Volvi.
Okay.
Do you remember Volvi?
Yeah.
Classic Nintendo mascot Volvi.
Yes. Is it Digital Revolver doing a show in a couple weeks? I think.
Yeah, I think it's next month. Yep.
Okay.
I'm excited to watch that. They used to do the best shows, but now they do the only good shows. So.
Well, yeah, everybody else shot themselves in the foot.
I can't wait for the next Microsoft show. Holy shit. Such a fucking train wreck.
Everybody's in scrambles and Nintendo just goes, "Yeah, we're dropping the Switch 2," just drops the mic and walks away. Easy.
Yeah, the game is really fun though. I would say that the farming stuff is more fleshed out than the gameplay. The gameplay is a little bit lackluster, but in my mind, I just think I gotta go do some gameplay because I gotta get materials I can only get from there so I can continue on. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. It's very addictive. I started playing it a couple days ago or something, and I think I probably already have like 10 hours in it or something.
So Call of the Lamb, when I looked at the game, it reminded me a lot of Don't Starve. Have you played that?
I played it like once or twice or something. It's okay. It's either I don't know if it's the same developer, but it's the same publisher at least. They do have like a Don't Starve like little thing that you can construct in the game.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you played it because I was going to ask, are they similar or are they vastly different?
Um, I don't really know.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure in Don't Starve you have like a I don't know if you go to separate areas for combat or if it's in the same area. But in Don't Starve you definitely don't have little cultist villagers in your town that you sacrifice to your god and feed them drugs so they don't get mad.
And they run around naked and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't unlocked the sex yet though. I don't know when that's coming in. There was a sex update, so hopefully that's coming soon. All right,
Yo,
cool.
sex update.
Speaking of sex, Wayne, you
No!
played Silent Hill 4, The Room. Did you beat this game?
I did. So I can
Okay.
say I
You can
beat
say
the...
you're definitively a better gamer than me.
Woo! So no, seriously, this was the weirdest trip I had with a game where you're gonna hate me, Eric. I like this game.
I think it's fun. I think it's a good game. It's like when I played it, the area where it's like the water area with all the things that you drop down.
Water prison? Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't beat the water prison the second time around because the guy just chases you, and I kept getting confused about where to go.
Where to go,
And
yeah.
I had no health, and I literally died in one shot where I was at, so I just couldn't do anything.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Because I was really conservative on my health. Did you play the game with the health bar open?
With the what?
With so if you
I
go
don't
to
even know what you mean.
Okay, sorry. So I go to the settings before I play the game just to see what's on there.
Mhm.
And by default, it removes the health bar in the top left corner.
Oh, I probably turned that on. That's
Okay.
weird.
Yeah, I
didn't even
turned it
realize.
on so I can see my health, and it does the same for your item inventory.
Yeah, for me, like I ran out of resources super fast. The limited inventory made stuff really hard for me, and like I don't know, it was just it like the second half of the game is so hard compared to the first half.
Yeah, no, the first set is like probably my favorite set pieces, despite it being a little lackluster in the idea department because it's a forest, it's a subway, it's a hospital, it's the same things from Silent Hill.
I'm glad we finally have context for that one scene that I've only referenced it like once when I was playing the game. But there's a scene in the first half where you like give a guy chocolate milk and then he like spontaneously combusts right after, and it's like what is this game? That part
I'm
was really
still
good.
haunted by the sound effect that he does when he drinks it. It's like gulp, 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 or something
Yeah.
like that. But no,
Oh.
I remember like I was checking out the apartment area and I'm just holding the milk and I'm like, okay, I need to heal. Why? I have chocolate milk here. It won't let me heal. I can't.
Oh, because
And
your
then-
health was full?
Wait, what?
Your health was full so you couldn't pick it up, or
No. I was trying to heal, and it just kept telling me you can't use it here, and I'm like, because
oh,
I
you were
thought
trying
the
to
chocolate.
use the chocolate. No, Wayne, the chocolate milk is you give it to the guy so he can immolate himself. Because if you're gonna burn up in flame, you need to drink that fucking chalky milk first. It's very important.
Okay, so it's a game I really liked, but it's a game that I don't want to replay in a
Oh
very
yeah.
long time because
It's so bad. Like it doesn't play well. I don't think. Like
really,
it
I think
feels.
it played real. I think the
Ugh.
controls were. I got used to the controls really well, and I think this is my favorite combat in the game because I just
It,
use the axe, and then I would
mm.
just charge. I would just charge the axe and just do a full swing on the enemy. One hit, step on them, move on. That's how I do it. I used the gun like once.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, to be fair, it is much harder to. I don't think I really use the gun that much either, just because it's literally like you have to have slots for the gun and the ammo, and the
Oh,
ammo
and the
only
ammo does it
stacks in like
stack.
10 or something.
Yeah.
So it's like it's actually like really hard to use the gun.
It's really funny that you say you stop at the water tower because
It's like really
r-
close to the end of the game.
no, 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 no. Um, right at the end. So you know how the second part you fight the ghosts of the victims of
Yes, you have
yeah,
like the sword or whatever to do that.
yes. So Andrew, the victim of the water tower, is the most difficult ghost. The only way to make it easy, and I had to look up a guide to do this because I kept dying to him. You need a
I take back what I said about you being a better Silent Hill gamer. I used the guide a lot, I think, for this
yes.
game because it's really confusing.
It's a lot of backtracking and stumbling around to figure out the puzzles because it
While
took me
some
a
guy follows you around and shoots you with a gun.
yes, and the
And
ghost.
you also have to escort someone who can also die.
Okay, so it was really difficult for me until I learned. Oh, you can just take her weapon away, and she doesn't attack the ghost. You can just run with her. Thank God.
Yeah, but like, it's still hard.
Oh yeah, no, it's not easy. Also, I like how the first weapon you can give her is a purse. You're
Yeah,
like,
she has
hey,
like specific weapons or something. It's
you
weird.
need to defend yourself. Here you go. Um,
You're a woman, right? Here you go.
but no, I want to say my favorite segments of the game was the apartments and the hospital. Um, I really like the hospital where you're in the long hallway and there's just wheelchairs
Yeah, yep.
flying
That
around.
that part is like really cool. That's one of the cool parts. Much better
I
than the level where you just fight monkeys or whatever. Or the
um
fucking level is like the first one or something, or the second one.
the buildings where you run into the monkeys for the first
Yeah,
time.
like the urban area.
Yeah.
That area is.
Um
This game is something else. That's for sure.
so like my overall take on it is it's a fun game and it's a game that I highly recommend Silent Hill fans to play because I did touch it for the longest time because I heard so many people go, "Oh, it's so difficult" and stuff like that. It's really more of you need to have patience for it, and it does help to know what you need to do by using a guide. Otherwise, you would just be bashing your head through a wall multiple times. Um, I do think the ghost system is a cool concept that should have been executed a little bit better.
Yeah, it's got a bunch of weird stuff in it where they were definitely trying out some new things, like everything to do with the room segments and stuff, and
I love
the game is so much different than the other ones, where the other ones are all kind of the same game, but like, you know, better
different characters.
graphics, different
Yeah.
story, different characters. This is like its own fucking weird game.
Yeah, and I love the puzzles around. You have to interact with the other world and then the apartments. So like you're like, oh, I'm holding this key. I'm cursed forever. I can't escape here. Um, oh, I can just go to my apartment, throw it in the inventory box. I'm good to
Yep.
go. Easy pleasy.
There's some really cool things in that game where I don't think I'll ever try to replay it, but I should definitely watch like to the end of it. I know I don't know much about. I know there's like different endings, and there's like I know there like one of the triggers for the endings is like the teddy bear or something, like the cursed like doll or whatever, right?
So
Something like that.
you're talking about the doll that William gives, Walter
Yeah,
gives
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Um,
Walter,
so
Walter
so that doll increases the possibilities of getting
of getting spooked.
hauntings in your apartment.
Yeah.
So it's cursed. There's
How
four
did you
in.
feel about the cursed doll, Lane?
I
I know
picked
how
it
much
up.
you. I know how
I
much
picked
you love. I know how much you love cursed dolls.
um he was so nice when I saw him. He was like, "Here, have this doll," and I'm like, "You're a little creepy, but I'll take your
You're like,
gift. Thank you,
thanks, Walter. And then
thanks,
he
Walt."
like pulls out the guns, and you're like, oh,
Oh no, no, not the chainsaw! Oh no, now he has two guns.
oh yeah, he did have a chainsaw in the forest level, huh, or
Yep.
something. God,
Yeah.
that game is
Um,
like full of really cool ideas, but it is just not.
I think.
Okay. Yep.
Wait. Just one more thing. My favorite of this was the cutscenes of how it was shot, because the cutscenes felt like it was in game, but it had a filter and a aesthetic to it that made it feel like those lost found footage horror films, like similar to like the Blair Witch Project and stuff, where the camera's like more handheld, very shaky. You see the ghosts haunting and floating around.
I kind of know what you mean.
Just
The,
really cool aesthetic. But if you were wondering how the endings affects it's does Elaine survive would affect two of the some of the endings, and also how many of the hauntings in your apartment did you remove?
oh yeah, you gotta like remove them. Yeah,
Yeah,
true.
with either the medallion or the candles.
Yeah, that game's super weird. All right.
I really like it, but I'm not touching that game again for a while.
All right. Anything else about that game?
Soundtrack's really good as always. It's a
Yeah,
Silent Hill
waiting for
game.
you. Pretty good song.
Yeah, I just started listening to the soundtrack because it was on Spotify. That's just how I am. It's
Yeah,
just
there's
too
probably
good.
other songs I like in the game, but I don't know. YouTube only recommends me the same fucking 20 songs all the time. All right, moving on. Star Trek, the original series. Wayne, have you ever
Hot
seen
nerd.
Star Trek, the original series?
My uncle tried to get me to watch it when I was like 12, but I kept
You
telling
kept
him
saying,
that Star Wars was cooler.
and you kept saying, "This isn't Star Wars." You're like that episode of Undergrads where they have the Star Trek, Star
Yes.
Wars thing. You're gimpy, Lane.
Woohoo! I should not have
uh,
woohoo that.
no, Gimpy's great. So yeah, so I did this weird thing where I was like, I don't know, like 2 or 3 years ago, I was like, man, this Star Trek thing I hear is pretty good. So I watched like 4 episodes of the original series, and I was like, yeah, that was really good actually. This is pretty amazing, especially for something made in the '60s. And then I was like, okay, yeah, and then I just didn't watch it for a couple of years, and then I watched like 5 or 6 more episodes again. So, and I haven't watched it since then. But I did watch them, so I'll briefly talk about a couple of the episodes. Oh, and that one, yeah. I'm just gonna do this image from episode 10, the the Corbo might maneuver. All right,
Okay.
this is my favorite image so far from Star Trek. You might have seen this image before.
I
Uh,
have seen a couple screenshots in the past.
uh, Here's the image.
Okay, I haven't seen that one.
It's like this, like fucking Squidward looking motherfucker. But
Just on LSD. Oh God.
Yeah, so this is one of the episodes that I watched. This is the episode famously where they fight like a cube.
Oh, okay.
There, there's they like find a space cube. Here's what the cube looks like. It's really high tech looking. Um, I should
It,
probably pull these up on screen, I guess.
oh, I
Uh,
I was suspecting this a cardboard box of some
here's
kind.
here's this picture. And I'll pull up the one the cube. So they fight the cube because the cube is gonna kill them, and then the spaceship guy is like, "You killed our cube. You That's a hostile action. We're gonna kill you."
Oh no.
I'm not even gonna explain this episode. It's there's a whole plot where it's like a guy is like it's really weird trying to explain these episodes to people who haven't seen that. I'm trying to think of like so there's a guy on their ship who is like he gets like really scared because after they kill the cube, the Squidward guy is like, "You killed our cube. That means you're hostile. We're a very advanced civilization," and they have this huge ship, and they're like, "We're gonna blow you up in 10 minutes." And
Oh.
yeah, Captain Kirk is like, "I'm going." He like tries to call them on their communicator, and he's like, "Hey guys, we didn't mean to blow up your thing. It was gonna kill us. Please don't kill us. We're friendly." And he's like cuts off their communication. He's like, "Nope, I'm gonna kill you guys." And they're like, "Oh." So the guy who is like one of their crew members is like not following orders, and he's not doing very well because he's very scared. And then right before like they're about to explode, Captain Kirk calls him again, and he's like, "Well, I should probably explain this to you because you're gonna blow us up." So basically, what they do is they say that there's this special material on their ship called Corbinite, and how it works is if an enemy ship blows up their ship, it will essentially reflect it afterwards and hit them with a blast of the same magnitude to try to ensure like mutual destruction. And Kirk is just like lying. He's like you should really shouldn't blow up our ship. That would suck for you, you know. And throughout that, they eventually because of that they find out that there's like this advanced life form that unfortunately doesn't look like the Squidward that was just
No.
testing them to see, to see if they're like worthy of learning about them and sort of communicating with them. It's a whole weird thing where it's a whole test. And Captain Kirk eventually is like, "We're gonna give you this guy that sucks because you'd learn more about humans if we gave you a guy that kind of sucks instead of like a cool person." And the guy's like, "Okay." I don't know. It's like a whole like heartwarming scene where it's like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." So there's that episode, and then there's another episode that was really cool. It's called Miri. So they find a planet that is the exact duplicate of the planet Earth. Except when they beam
Oh.
down there, I assume that's so that they could save on the cost of the sets, and
Well.
they just used the set from another like
Yeah.
movie or TV show. Like, that's very clearly why, uh, which is really funny whenever they do stuff like that.
I have heard a lot of fun behind the scenes stories on the original Star Trek show where they're like, yeah, this is extremely low budget. We have people behind this wall just sliding the doors in and out and stuff like that. This chair was from this set. Um,
Yeah, there's like a whole like Plinkett video that came out somewhat recently where he's just showing off all the things that are fucked up in Star Trek. He's like, "Look at this! They forgot to remove the tape off the ground. Look at this! Look at
no.
this!" So yeah, in this episode they go down there, and apparently there has been like the people who live there. They tried to create something that would essentially make humans immortal, but instead of that, it killed all of them. Classic. Oops,
Oh,
I killed everyone. The only people who are still alive are children. So basically, it's the worst planet in the world. It's all just like children, and they're all like shit kids, and they're
oh
all like
no.
terrifying British children. So like this is not a child, right? This is like clearly like a man
Oh, that's like
or
those
like
really, yeah, somebody in their 30s.
yeah, I don't know. There's like another shot of him that makes him look more like a child. I don't really understand why it looks like that. I have literally zero idea why. And in this episode, uh, they essentially go down there. They send like I don't know, like 5, 10 dudes down there, including Captain Kirk and Commander Spock. They send both of them down there, and I think they also send Bones, who's he's like their medical officer. I think they send him down there. I can't quite remember, but essentially they go down there, and then the virus that is down there only affects people who are adults, is what they assume because of all the people who died. And then eventually they all contract the virus. So at that point, Captain Kirk decides that they can't send any more people down because they'll become infected and there's a chance that they'll die. And he can't send anyone, not even. One of the interesting things is because Spock is like half Vulcan, he's not affected by the virus, but
Okay.
he is still like he's still like a carrier for it, even if it doesn't affect him. So they can't send him back to the ship either. So they have no way to send people to and from the ship. They contact the ship and they'll send them like data so that they can try to make a cure, and like they'll send information back and then they'll use that to like compute it. And they get really close to solving it. They're almost there, and then the shit kids happen, Lane.
No.
They they just like don't understand. They don't understand like what's happening, and they just don't like adults. They have like this weird special name for them. I'm leaving out like one of the crucial plot points of this because it doesn't really matter. But uh essentially all the kids are actually super old because they have the virus and it works for them to make them immortal. So they've been alive for
Oh.
like 100 or 200 years, but it doesn't
Whoa.
make them actually immortal. It slows their aging process. So one of the
Okay.
ways, because the children, they essentially break into the laboratory and steal all of the ship's communicators, so they can't finish the thing. I mean, they don't even know why. They just think it's a funny prank, and they hate adults basically because they're fucking stupid children, and they want them all to die or whatever. Just gonna take in some oxygen, try to breathe, because whenever I start talking about something, I'm just like explain, explain, explain.
You forget to breathe and you're like, all right, brain, slow down for a second. My mouth can't speak this fast, please.
So the children do that, and there's a really great scene where Commander Kirk has to send you another image. He has to essentially go into the children into this classroom where all the children are, and he has to explain to them that he has to not only explain them, but he has to convince them because they're stupid children. He has to convince them that they have to give them back the communicators so that they can make a cure, because not only are they going to die, the crew, all of these children eventually are going to age, even though they age really slow, they'll age at a rate where as soon as they hit puberty, they'll become infected and die. So he has to
Oh,
convince
yeah.
them that if you don't let me do this, that you're all going to die. And he does it in like, dumb children terms. So basically it's Captain Kirk having to do that to a bunch of children, and they all start attacking him while he tries to do that. Like they just physically like kick the shit out of him. And he's like bloody by the time he's finally done
Oh, no.
explaining it to them. Like he's like in rough shape. There's no pictures of him really like being bloody, but like they like beat him with like pipes and shit. But
Oh, my.
it's a really classic episode. I really like it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, they
There's a
really messed him up.
there's a bit more to it. Oh yeah, he's also bloody in this scene. You can see his hand. Yeah, it's a really good classic episode. Speaking of long running season or shows and seasons, Lane watched.
So I watch Ghost in the Shell 2 Innocence. So So I watched the first movie, Ghost in the Shell. For the longest time, my brain just never connected. Oh, there's a second movie.
I
I
didn't know there
knew
was a second movie until just now. Wait, no, this movie, it says it came out this year.
that's the 4K release. The
Oh, it's
original
just
release was like
specifically
2004.
2003 or something, yeah.
The little story behind this is a friend in Chicago at the Music Box Theater is a theater that's like over 100 years old, and they do movie festivals every once in a while. And that's that theater reached out to G Kids, who's been doing all the Studio Ghibli films.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
usually what they do. And
yeah,
sometimes they'll do like other specials for like animes and stuff.
they did the Evangelion movies, Black on Blu-ray. They're basically taking over what Funimation failed to do. That's the short end. So they reached out to them and they're like, hey, we want to do a movie for the music festival. And they're like, yeah, we're doing Ghost in the Shell 4K release. That won't be out until like July for theaters, but we can do a early screening. And they're like, oh, perfect. So my friend invited me to watch it, and it was my first time watching Ghost in the Shell too. Uh, Eric, did you ever watch the first movie?
Nope. I
Okay.
have seen a couple episodes a long time ago when I was a child when it was airing on Adult Swim, the TV show. And that's
Standalone
yeah,
complex.
a
Yeah.
standalone complex, and that's pretty much all I've seen.
Okay. I only seen the
Makoto Kusanagi.
I only seen the first movie. I never seen the show. It's been on my list forever. I have a million things. Blah 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 blah. Insert lame joke here. But anyways, so the first Ghost in the Shell basically is about Major and her journey as trying to find herself. She basically becomes a ghost. Like she becomes the soul. She disappears,
Some
becomes a
sort of
rogue.
specter in the machine.
Yeah, yes. uh, but the second movie shows. I want to make sure his name is right. Batu.
Oh, it's like
Uh,
the black dude. Is
yeah,
that
the
right?
tall dude
Is
with
he
the
black?
cyber eyes.
Is he black or am I
He
crazy? I'm
he's
probably
like dark light skin. So don't quote me on that. I don't know. But basically,
yeah. He kind of looks like he looks like that guy from Full Metal Alchemist, kind of right, like the serial killer guy or whatever.
arms. Oh no, yeah, I know who you're talking about.
He kind of looks like
Anyway,
that guy.
yes. But so now this movie is about him. He's investigating these robots that are sharing souls with humans, and it becomes like this weird law lingo of like, okay, is this morally correct? We're using human souls for this. And so Batu teams up with a former detective that becomes a specialist agent. And they're investigating, they're like trying to figure out everything. This movie is the funniest thing ever because Batu is like, all right, we gotta check with the Yakuza to get some information. And his partner is like, okay, we're just talking to them, right? And he's like, yeah, yeah, okay, but why did you just put a heavy machine gun in the trunk? And he's like, don't worry about it. He's
It's
like,
fine.
okay, promise me, right? He's like, yeah. They open the door. He says one thing, the Yakuza just starts screaming. He pulls out the gun and just starts blazing. And the partner's like, I thought you weren't going to shoot. And he said, I said I wasn't going to shoot if they were willing to cooperate with me. Um, but I think what's really funny about this movie is this is the most quotable movie ever. It's literally them figuring out the puzzle of the mystery while quoting things that they read or heard. So there will be quotes where like Batu's saying, "But no matter how far a jackass may travel, it will never return as a horse. When talking fails, it's time for violence."
Yeah, that's really interesting because I had no idea that this film was not about Makoto Kusanagi,
Yes.
which is really
So
interesting for a sequel to have like a entirely different main character but in the same world.
yes, and
Oh, there's a
Major does
dog
show.
on the. Have you seen the box art with the picture of the dog?
Yes. So that's where I was getting to. So that's Batu's dog. So like after a long day of work, he'll just go home, take care of Gabriel is the dog's name. And so he'll be like cooking up the dog food in a microwave. He'll test it if it's warm enough. He'll take a little bite of the dog food to make sure it's correct.
So he's like Shinji in Persona 3.
Pretty much. He'll put the dog food down, and this little detail is the coolest thing. Gabriel will go over to eat, and Batu would grab the dog's ears to make sure the ears doesn't get into the bowl.
Oh my
So
god, that is so much work.
he just like swiftly like moves it apart, and he's like,
Oh,
"Oh,
because he has
good
the
boy."
huge ears. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's wild.
My favorite scene was at towards the end where they're in this like secret ship trying to find the core, and the major hacks a robot to help out. And so she looks at Batu and goes, "We weep for the blood of a bird, but not for the blood of a fish. Blessed are those with a voice. If the dolls also had voices, I bet they would have screamed, 'I don't want to become human.'" And Batu just looks at her and goes, Major, I don't think we have the time for these stupid quotes. And I'm
That's
like,
funny.
you, the whole movie is just you making quotes with your partner. What are you talking about? So yeah, no, Ghost in the Shell, the first movie, is like this hyper complex cyberpunk world with the major. And then Ghost in the Shell 2 just becomes this nice slice of life with so many quotes that's just spewing out of everybody's mouth. It's very wholesome.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. It would be crazy one day if we happened to watch Ghost in the Shell on this
I would definitely
podcast,
recommend.
the live action film.
No! Damn it, I walked into that.
So, moving over to our discussion of the movie that we both watched, a movie that the Boss Baby, have not seen.
So he finally knows what's in the box.
Lane, I'm your friend, right?
Yes.
You know I'm a pretty honest guy. Can you vouch for that?
Yes.
Okay. I have a confession to make.
You did know what was in the box, did you?
Lane, I knew what was in the box.
Why did you lie?
You see, Lane, this is something that you may not get as a classically trained film student, but movies, most of the discussion of movies is around their endings. But the thing is, Lane, there's actually more to movies than just their endings. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I knew, at the time. I was like, is it his wife's, full spoilers for Seven. I was like, is it his wife's head? I'm thinking, yeah, I think that's what it is. Then I'm like, Wayne's trying to change the movie again. I can't let that happen. So we gotta do something.
Well, and also, you were like, okay, I'm not sure if it's the wife, but did you know the context behind the box? Like, that's what makes it.
No, I mean, I just knew like the one thing. Like, because like that's like majority of the things that I'll know that are spoilers about movie is of course I don't know the context. I just know what like the dead ass like the thing is, you
Okay.
know. Like I know that guy in the Sixth Sense, you know, I know Wayne. Uh, but I don't know anything else about it really. So that's like kind
Yeah.
of what that's gonna be. Is like if I know a spoiler, it's not like I've seen the scene. It's just I know I've heard the thing,
Okay,
and I
so
think
it's not
that
completely lost then.
no, not at all. There's so much more to that scene and the whole movie and everything surrounding that scene. The first thing I want to talk about this movie. A lot of trouble getting to watch this movie. Surprisingly,
Oh no.
I went to a site that I use to browse uh, media. Let's say to watch media on it. Wasn't on there.
Pornography got it.
Yeah, it wasn't on any of my pornography sites either. That was like the weird thing. Like I was like, aren't people into this? I don't understand. Uh, so I had to torrent the film, which
Hmm.
means I haven't done that yet on my new computer. So I had to go download Qubit torrent, do everything for that. I download it. I start watching it. I'm like, man, I'm pretty excited to watch this movie. Can't wait to see what happens. And ooh, the subtitles aren't right. They're
No.
not only incorrect, but they're also mistimed. I'm like, okay.
No, that's
Uh,
even worse.
I was like, okay, I've done this before. I went to another site to just download subtitles, get the
Oh.
subtitles, go back into VLC, switch over to the new subtitles, and then after that, perfectly fine. Was able to watch the movie, no issues. I'm gonna be honest, Lane. This might be this film, despite being a horror thriller crime film, is very funny. A lot of the times that happens
Yes.
because of the juxtaposition of all the horrible things happening. Like things that wouldn't be that funny in a comedy film are so much funnier in films like this. Of course, this wasn't the intention at the time, but I think this is the fastest laugh a movie has ever gotten out of me.
Whoa. Okay.
Because as you know, you're watching the intro and it's kind of like this edgy like thing. Obviously you can see how Saw was like inspired by this film, and I'm watching the intro and I'm like, oh, this is kind of edgy, I like this. And then it gets to the end and you just hear the Nine Inch Nails singer say, you get me closer to God. And I fucking laughed so hard at that. I was like, what?
So no, the title card is like so iconic and just Nine Inch Nails playing. You see this really cool like X-rays and it's like flashing and everything, but once you hear those lyrics, you're like, yeah, 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 yeah.
Like it's so funny. Like I laughed. I had to pause it and laugh, and I was like, "Yeah, I guess
uh,
that was a pretty cool intro."
the one where I had to pause to just laugh was when they're having a discussion in the police office, and what's his name? He's like the sheriff or whatever. He's just sitting on the desk. The
Uh,
phone's ringing. He picks it up and he goes, "This is not even my desk," and just slams the phone.
oh yeah. He answers it and he's like, "Yes." He's like, "This is my desk," and then he that's like the police chief or whatever.
Yeah,
I've
police
done
chief.
a bit of digging into the cast and stuff, not too much. I lost my place. Let me pull that up. There we go. There's a bunch of weird little things in this movie with the actors. He's the police captain, R. Lee Emery. He's in a couple other films. Did you know that? I guess we should like explain a bit about the characters and stuff before we talk about random shit. So yeah, this film stars Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, Kevin Spacey. Uh, Brad Pitt's character is like the new detective in town who's moved from not even like a country bumpkin type place. He just moves from a city with like a much lower crime rate. As soon as he joins Morgan Freeman, who's like the grizzled old detective, literally like a week away from retirement,
Yep.
he's like there's a bunch of scenes where he's like, you don't want to do this.
I
He's like, you should stop. Don't move here.
uh
There's literally like 4 or 5 scenes of that where it's like, no, you're gonna regret it. Don't come here. Yeah,
so yeah, and then there's solving sorry, you go.
Oh yeah. I just kind of stopped the synopsis because I was gonna talk about more random stuff in the film. But yeah, basically, they're trying to. Let me just read the synopsis. So, Detective William Somerset, who is Morgan Freeman's character, which, by the way, is like most, like one of the dumbest, like detective ass names I think I've ever heard.
Well,
Fucking
both detectives'
Somerset.
names are stupid.
I don't know. David Mills is like whatever. So he's like tackling his final case with David Mills, who's Brad Pitt, who's the new in town detective guy who has experience, but Morgan Freeman's like, oh, you're really green because he hasn't been a detective in this place, which is like crazy crime. And yeah, they got to catch this guy who serial killer is played by Kevin Spacey.
John
Uh,
Doe.
John Doe. I believe the quote is, I probably have it written down because I wrote down like a lot of quotes in this movie. Oh yeah, Morgan Freeman says he's John Doe by choice because he literally erases his entire past and becomes like he literally changes his name to John Doe, which is of course the
Impressive.
it's like what you call like a dead person that you don't know their name.
Yes.
And then Brad Pitt's wife, who's played by Gwyneth Paltrow, who I've heard the name of. I've never actually seen her in anything, but she does have she's like a famous name. She plays the wife in like Iron Man, I think, as well.
Iron Man. Oh no, she's the crazy stone lady.
She also plays herself in Clerks Animated.
You know, sitting here with all these movies, I was just thinking about all the cool celebrities that have stopped into the Quick Stop over the years.
Yeah, we've sure seen our share of stars for a little convenience store in New Jersey.
Hi, I'm Jerry Seinfeld.
I'm on a break.
Why does 2% milk?
I don't care. I'm on a break. Get out of here.
But I have a membership. Paltrow. Gwyneth?
I said get out of here.
We're closed. Get the hell out.
Get the hell out, Scorsese.
Screw you, Miss Hepburn.
Up yours, Matt Damon.
It's Ted Danson.
Hey! It's Ted Danson!
Hey, it's Ted Danson.
It's payback time.
Oh, that's
One of
Okay,
one of the few actors who play themselves. I always think about how in Clerks Animated they have a character who's Patrick Swayze, but he's voiced by he's played by Gilbert Godfrey. That's the joke.
oh. Oh,
Which
he has
is-
such a
which is
great
funny.
voice too.
Yeah, I love Gilbert Godfrey.
Rest in
He's-
peace.
Is he actually dead?
Yeah, he passed away last year, I want to say.
I feel like some people, maybe this is a joke from like Half in the Bag, but whenever they like say an actor's name, they just say "rest in peace"
Rest
because
in
they're
peace.
probably dead.
Okay. But no, he sadly did pass away last year.
Yeah. The movie opens up with them after the first couple scenes. They go and investigate the first murder. I had the actor here because I thought it was really funny. The guy who plays him, this was his first role as playing the
Oh.
dead body of the guy who ate too much fucking spaghetti. And he, one of his other roles is that he's like, oh, what is it called? He's like a stand-in for Fat Bastards actor in the
In the Austin Powers movie?
Yeah, the Austin Powers movie that he's in, which I thought
That's
was really
awesome.
funny. Obviously, as someone who's like 500 pounds, it's kind of hard to get roles that aren't like weird, like typecast stuff like that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I have a pretty good quote from that scene where one of the people he talks to, I think it's like as they're going in, they're like, yeah, this guy ain't breathing unless he started breathing spaghetti sauce. Which that got me pretty good. There's a lot of really funny. I have like 10 quotes written down that I thought were pretty good. They find out about this and they don't take it very seriously at first. I mean, they do, but like they obviously don't think it's a serial killer until stuff starts happening.
They don't realize it until they get to the second body, which is Greed. When Greed is written on the floor in blood.
Mhm.
And then they go, Morgan Freeman's character goes to the first murder scene and finds Blunty behind the fridge. And then that's
Yeah,
when they started
so
connecting the dots.
well, the first thing that happens is that's actually not correct. um, actually, what happens is when they dissect the fat guy's stomach, they find a bunch of wood shards in his stomach, and then those are the wood shards that are from pulling the fridge back,
Pulling the fridge.
like the wood shards that are out of the thing. I think what you're thinking of is they talk to the wife of the greed guy. He was like a lawyer. When they talk to his wife, when they show her the scene, there's like some kind of quote about something being out of place, or I don't remember exactly what it is. But when they show her the crime scene, she notices that one of the paintings is upside down. So they pull it off and cut it open, and then that has fingerprints of the next victim.
which is
And that's
Sloth.
there's like these little clues, because obviously I was about to say Kevin Spacey wants to get caught, but I think the character wants to get caught. I don't know about Kevin Spacey wanting to be caught. He's back into acting, I hear. There was like this whole big like convention thing that he was at recently. You probably didn't hear about it, but I was watching a video where they were talking about it. I was like, oh, interesting.
Yikes, I guess people forgot about his past history.
Well, it's okay, Lane, because he came out as gay, right? So that was like the funny thing that happened was that was his response to the allegations. He's like, hey guys, I'm gay.
It's break the glass in case of emergency, and it's just the words "I'm gay" behind it.
Yeah.
I just like to imagine that was in his in his basement,
in his closet.
along.
All right, so let's talk more about the movie. One of the things that I noticed that was really funny, so there's a scene early on, so they have the day transitions, because it's like a week or whatever, where they say like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
I think on the second day, on Tuesday, it shows like it's like a raining day, and there's like a newsstand with like one of those newspaper dispensers.
Uh-huh.
Did you happen to pause it and read what was on the newspapers?
I did not. What was on the newspaper?
So there were a couple funny ones. There's one that was neighbor's beagle scares teen, cures 8-year bout with hiccups.
Okay.
So I thought that one was pretty good. But then there was another one that was housekeeper held hostage by child's possessed gerbil. 3 days of terror.
Okay, I did catch the housemaid, but I just read housemaid held hostage. I didn't get chance to read the rest. So the fact that it's by a gerbil.
Yeah. I love when they do that stuff in movies where they're like, haha, you can't pause and read things in the theater, idiot. You gotta wait for the movie to come out to pause the scene in Basic Instinct.
Buy our DVDs.
Yeah,
do it.
Be kind, rewind.
Do you know why they say that, Eric?
Yes.
I'm doing a reality.
I'm talking about I'm talking about the movie, Lane. Be kind, rewind.
Yes, I also seen that movie.
Oh, you have? I think I mentioned it one time, and I thought you said you hadn't seen it, but maybe that was Brett.
Just to confirm, that was the movie where the guy's like, "Oh no, I erased all the films here. I gotta make bootleg versions."
Yeah, he gets like hit with lightning or something, or like he gets like electrified, and that erases all the films. So he has to like go out with his friends and like remake all the. It's such an inspired choice for a movie.
It's a cool concept.
I
like feel like the director was like, "I want to make my own
stuff." It has like that kind of like home movies feel to it. Where it's just like a bunch of idiots trying to film a movie. So I did have one more thing to say about the first victim, the gluttony victim. I wrote, this guy clearly ate too much big and round spaghetti.
Okay.
So yeah, there's more notes that they receive later, and because they have to like do research on the seven deadly sins to try to figure it out. There's quite a few jokes where like Brad Pitt's character is like, I'm stupid and I don't like reading. There's like this little period where Morgan Freeman is deciding that he's not going to be able to finish the case, so he's trying to write everything out and explain everything to Brad Pitt about the seven deadly sins stuff so he'll be able to get through it. So he's kind of like on his own researching it. And there's a really funny scene where a cop is like, we got it for you, and he hands him a package and he opens it up and it's a bunch of cliff notes on all those books. That part was pretty funny. I was like, haha, cliff notes.
Yeah, it was like cliff notes on like Dante's Inferno, Divine Comedy.
Those are the same thing. Dante's Inferno is the game, Lane. That's based on Dante's Divine Comedy. The game with the guy with the scythe.
I know, my brain disconnected both, and I just said it twice for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what it is. There's other ones too. I don't know what they're called. But he's like, thank you, Lord.
Is it bad that when they were like, oh, Divine Comedy, I was just close to walking over to my local library to see if they had Divine Comedy so I could just read it? I was this close to it.
That's funny. So they have that, and then so I have this screenshot of when he's like, it's like just seeing the reflection in his glasses of the newspaper. I don't remember. This is like near the start of the film. Okay, yeah, so this is about where we are. So this is the scene where they're waiting for the fingerprints to be decoded from the picture.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you knew. I don't know if it's the character that they talk to at the fingerprint or another one, but one of the fingerprint people is played by Morgan Freeman's son, which was an interesting note that I found out while researching the movie. Alfonso Freeman, who has a couple other roles, but I think it was the one that they're talking to where the guy explains that it's going to take like a while for them to get the fingerprint, or he says it can take a while to get the fingerprint matches.
I like the delivery on that scene because they were like, behind him. We were expecting them to go, we found it. But he just turns around and he's like, guys, it's going to take a while. You might just want to relax.
Yeah. I think in a lot of ways, this film could have been timeless if it didn't have to directly involve like the technology of the time for them to try to catch him. Because like everything else in the film, I feel like could be set at any time.
Oh yes, most definitely.
So that happens, and then it cuts, and then they wake up on Thursday. I thought the scene of them sleeping was pretty funny.
Just sleeping on the bench in the hallway.
Yeah, so they wake up on Thursday. They get the fingerprints. They obviously assume that it's the guy's fingerprints, because what else would you assume? Of course, it turns out not to be. So they get the SWAT team and they storm the building. And I really like how one of the details of this is Sloth, I believe. Sloth's house has like all these little air fresheners in it so that nobody could like smell what's going on in there.
To mask the stench, yes.
Yeah. I think that's one of the craziest things about it is that they're able to tell from testing this guy is that he's been in this room and been tortured for an entire year. So that's at least how long this crime has been premeditated, whereas like everyone else he kills is really recent.
Oh yeah. No, it definitely shows dedication to John Joe's character and truly how insane he is.
Yeah, I just thought the shot was cool with all the flashlights and the fucking air fresheners. I don't think there's any other shot like this with like air fresheners at the top of it.
So how does it go? SWAT before dicks. SWAT's before dicks.
Yeah, that line made me. I just have what written down is just dicks. Just dicks. That's all I have written down. The scene that actually takes place in between this and the last murder, where Brad Pitt's in the car and he's reading the books and he says, "Goddamn Dante, goddamn poetry writing, word I cannot say that starts with an F. Piece of shit fucker. That scene's really great. And then they have, I think, probably the best scene in the movie that fleshes out Brad Pitt's character, which is funny because he doesn't really talk at all during the scene. The scene where Morgan Freeman's character gets invited over to his house. And the first thing that happens when they enter is Morgan Freeman goes past like the front, like the second door, and Brad Pitt is just locked in there with his 3 dogs, just playing with them for like the entirety of like the next scene, where Morgan Freeman is talking to Brad Pitt's wife.
Yeah, Brad Pitt's like literally on the floor hugging and wrestling with the dogs too.
He probably does that for like a half an hour or something. It's really funny. But that's like the first scene where I was like, I feel like that, and obviously the thing where he calls Dante the F word, kind of establishes his character.
That overall scene too is a delight because you also see Morgan Freeman's character does like a little character break per se, where they're eating dinner and the whole apartment starts shaking.
Yeah,
because
I have
they're
that
like,
quote too.
they're like, the estate agent told us we could only look at the apartment for 5 minutes, and I wonder what was up with that. Now we know. And
then Morgan Freeman says, "The soothing, relaxing, vibrating home."
Which is a great line. Break apart. He just starts crackling.
And the scene where they're all just sitting there as everything's vibrating and just looking at each other. That scene is really funny. Another scene that actually takes place in between the gluttony victim and the greed one is the scene where... No, that's definitely the scene at the diner, right? Where he meets Gwyneth Paltrow. Morgan Freeman does.
Oh, she wants just to talk the two of them? Yeah.
Where she wants to talk to him about how she's pregnant, but she doesn't know if she wants to keep the baby. And Morgan Freeman kind of talks about how he was in a very similar situation with his wife where he didn't... This is like one of the best scenes in the movie where he's explaining that the world and the city that he lives in is so fucked up that he doesn't feel comfortable bringing a child into this world. Mm-hmm. And the quote that kind of got to me was he was like, she really wanted to keep the baby. And he's like, but I wore her down. I was like, oh, okay. That's sad.
Yeah,
that scene got me. I was like, Obviously, thinking about it now, that's like also a really big scene with what comes up near the end of the film.
Yes, and that scene really solidifies parts of the theme of the movie, where it has like a undertone of nihilism in it.
Yeah,
like it's really hard to pick up on your first watch through, but Morgan Freeman's character is super nihilistic.
Yeah,
like,
I don't think it's really that hard. I mean, that's pretty much everything he does and says kind of leads to that. I actually have a really cool review that I wanted to bring up to you. That's
okay.
About... Here, I'll just read it to you, okay? So I got this off Letterboxd. Oh, God.
Okay. Letterboxd, yes.
It's so fucking far away. There we go. All right, here we go. So they give it 3 stars. Capitalism destroys families and childhoods, commodifying human lives and animals in pursuit of more money/power and petty revenge to the extent that the higher-ups are willing to murder children for it, the American way. Only solution is to sabotage it and embrace the beauty of existence and the true connections we make with our families and loved ones. Also, Alec Baldwin is a fucking baby.
Okay. Okay, there we go. I was waiting for the punchline. I was like, is he just gonna stop and just not follow? Oh.
It's a review of Boss Baby.
Shut up.
All right. All right.
I want to go
Yeah.
back to the sloth scene because the SWAT leader is one of my favorite sitcom actors. He plays Dr. Cox in Scrubs. Like
the SWAT leader. Who is that?
in real life, or
Yeah, the actor.
let me
The
quickly
character
look.
obviously doesn't have a name.
John C. McGinley.
Wait.
Here, I'll just copy and paste
Oh,
that.
here you go. Oh, he does have a name. His name is California, apparently. I don't really. Okay.
But he was the guy
He's a
who was
Scrubs
giving
actor.
orders at the finale on the helicopter too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He has a such minor role in this, but I just love him as Dr. Cox in Scrubs. So
Also in
just,
Clone High.
yes.
He plays creepy trucker.
Because the creators of Clone High, also one of them also created Scrubs.
Oh, yeah. Wait. Yeah. Wait, really?
Yes, because you have the two that did the Lego movie and the Spider-Man
Chris
movies,
Lloyd
and then
Phil, whatever. Yeah.
yeah, and then the third guy also helped them on Clone High. I gotta find the director's name.
No, it's fine. We can just continue.
Bill Lawrence. There we go. Yeah.
And then, so they find this guy in a like an almost hospital looking room, and he has all these marks over his body from where he's been injected with drugs for what they find out is the last year. And they're like, "Holy shit, that looks not great." So the big shock, of course, during the scene is that guy is still alive, and he's like, "Ugh," he's like a fucking scary looking monster dude because he took too many drugs.
Yeah, it's
And,
like the closest thing you'll get to a jump scare in this movie, where he just kind of jolts up and you're not expecting it whatsoever.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, maybe besides that, like the chase scene has stuff that's kind of like that. Yeah, they take him in and they have no idea. They're pretty sure he's gonna die. There's the line where the guy says, "Detective, he'd die of shock right now if you were to shine a flashlight in his eyes," because he's so fucked up, basically. My favorite thing about that scene, I don't remember exactly where it comes from. I think maybe Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt are just talking about it. They're talking about what the landlord said about the guy.
Yes.
He was the best tenant I've ever had. That quote got me pretty good. That was pretty funny.
No noise complaints and always pay his rent on time.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So
Now we gotta move to
so the next scene is where they talk about, so they meet, Morgan Freeman's like, "Okay, we're not getting anywhere. I'm gonna do some questionable stuff to see if we can find this guy." And Brad Pitt's like, what are you gonna do?" And he's like, "Well, I'm gonna check all the books that we were looking through, and we're gonna go through an FBI guy and check." I mean, he doesn't say this; it just happens because it's a fucking movie.
Show,
but
don't tell.
yeah. So he gets the library card, or he gets the info. I really like how the FBI agent, his character is literally called Greasy FBI Man, and that's how he was subtitled in the version that I watched, which I thought was funny.
I watched it on the Blu-ray. I think he was also subtitled as that.
There's a really good quote where they're talking about that they're gonna, find out this library info. I guess they do talk about it after it happens. And Brad Pitt says he's a nutbag, and just because the fucker's got a library card doesn't make him Yoda, which is a weird quote.
Yeah, that might that might be not timeless, depending on how the Star Wars franchise goes for the next couple years. But
They're gonna bring Yoda back. Can't wait. He never
they
really
already
died.
brought. They have Baby Yoda now. Does that count?
No, they're gonna bring
Oh.
him back like Palpatine.
No,
No one really dies, Lane.
no one really dies.
Yeah, so obviously they do this thing that's kind of like cheating. At least in the serial killer's mind, he probably sees it as cheating. I think it's in between this scene and the last scene is when they have the part where Brad Pitt meets the reporter guy, who they later find out is John Doe. I think that happens before the chase scene. I'm not entirely sure. But it's there, so it's kind of like, oh, I saw he was actually here the whole time.
Yeah,
type
that was
thing.
right after this loft scene because the photographer shows up, takes a picture of them, and
Yep.
there was that part where Mills is just like, "All right, take a fucking picture. It's Detective Mills, Mill. Fuck you."
Yeah, which is like, I'm sure if there was like a how it should have ended, or like a film critic probably was like, ding, Detective Mills probably shouldn't have told the serial killer his full name, or some shit
Whoopsie.
like that, I bet. Even though it's like obviously implied that like he's been paying the police. It's not implied, he just tells them that he's been paying the police for information, so I'm sure he would have known anyway. But it's like, the so-called film criticism, how it's done nowadays. Fucking, what is that channel called?
CinemaSins?
CinemaSins. There you go. I couldn't remember the name.
Okay.
Fucking CinemaSins. Yeah.
Ruin media literacy.
Yeah. And this is part of, I think, where when they learn about his name is John Doe and everything. So they go to his apartment. It turns out that as they're trying to knock on his door, he shows up and he's like, I imagine in his head, he's like, uh-oh. So he fucking fires a shot at him, and then he starts running away. I don't know if the first shot hits Brad Pitt, but he definitely gets shot like once or twice in this scene as he's trying to chase down the guy.
Yeah, Brad Pitt gets fucked really badly during this scene. Like, you don't really realize it until towards the end of the chase scene, like how badly he is, and then John Joe just fucks him up even more.
There's that great scene right after the chase scene where he's like literally bleeding out, and he's like, "We gotta open the door, Morgan Freeman." And Morgan Freeman's like, "No, we can't do that." And Brad Pitt's like, "I got an idea." He pays some lady to say that they heard like suspicious noises or something from the thing, so they can break it open.
Causes.
But before they even do that, Brad Pitt like kicks down the door, which is funny.
He just kicks it down and goes, "I got a plan." And Morgan's just like, "Are you Oh, okay. We are already past this point. Let's just go in."
So that's where they kind of learn so much about the serial killer, like looking through his apartment. They see that he is the reporter from the picture that he took earlier. They have
like so-called his manifesto, which is just his mindset.
It's so funny that they have so much writing that they literally can't go through it all, because it's like the fucking How To with John Wilson thing where he writes down what he does every day.
Yes, because they were saying like, yeah, even if we had like 20 cops on 24 rotation shifts, it would take us a month to go through this.
Yeah. They're like reading through it and they find a couple interesting tidbits. Something about like throwing up on some guy in a subway, which was pretty funny. I'm trying to think of what other details from their house. This is the shot right here is the when Brad Pitt is about to catch him, he's like hiding on top of a truck, and he like jumps down, kicks the shit out of Brad Pitt, and then he holds a gun up to him. And then he almost like makes like Brad Pitt like beg for his life, kind of. I don't know what he says exactly, but he asks him like if he wants to die or something. I don't remember, to be honest. I don't remember what he says. Anyway, there's a there's a scene shortly after where where they draw like a police sketch of John Doe, which thinking about what wait, is your mic working? Oh, okay,
Sure.
no, you're fine. Yes, I like the shot where he's like holding the gun to him. It looks really cool. And then there's the funny like, you sure this is him? And it's a funny looking picture in the moment because you're like, there's no way that's what he looks like. But then of course when you see him, that's what he looks like, and you're like, oh, I see.
Oh, wow.
Which is funny. So that happens. They find out that he's John Doe by choice, because he like erased all his records and everything, and there's like no record of anything from him. He doesn't have bank accounts. He's basically a ghost, because he has the only thing that he gets paid from is his reporter job, and it sounds like they pay him in cash.
Yes, and another detail that they were showing at like towards the beginning, where they were talking about how the guy doesn't have any fingerprints too because he burns them off.
He constantly burns off his fingertips. I forgot about that. That's fucking wild.
Yeah, because towards the end, when he shows up, his hands are bloody, and you're like, what? Oh,
Yeah.
he has to do that like several times.
Or he cuts them off or something because they like regrow back. And that's like the wildest thing about his apartment is that there's no fingerprints in his apartment.
Yeah, no,
like,
that's
what? So yeah, that's a really interesting scene where they go through his house and everything.
I like the little part where he has like these little boxes for each victims. They're like glass boxes, and they show like part of the character. So like Plenty was, oh, it's a glass box full of the SpaghettiOs in it.
Yeah, there is kind of like this thing where it's weird to compare this film to Saw in retrospect, because obviously Saw came out after it, it's inspired by it. But there is like a couple like things later, like with not the next murder, but the one after, the Pride one, is like there's an explanation where it's like he cut off her nose and taped a phone to her hand, so she could have called. It's almost like what you would think of as like what they end up doing with saw traps, where it's like, oh, you can save yourself, you know?
No, I was trying to remember the full detail because it was
She had a phone glued to one hand and something else glued to the other, and he cut off her nose, and so he was like, you're really fond and prideful of how pretty you are, so if you call an ambulance you'll live, but you'll have to live the rest of your life looking like a weirdo without a nose.
and then the other one was like pills because you could kill yourself.
Oh yeah, it was pills, because she killed herself with the pills. Yeah, you're right.
Because
That
it
was
was either you survive, but you don't have your pride anymore, or you kill yourself with your pride.
Yeah, and it makes sense because like in the climax, there's another thing like that, and maybe that's him evolving as like a serial killer. Because like I can't imagine, because I guess you could think of the gluttony one kind of like that, but I don't know what the fuck the challenge is. He's like, you got to eat fucking SpaghettiOs, dude. Like he's literally like he's holding a gun to him and he's like, eat this spaghetti.
I want to say my theory is like at the beginning, John Doe is so obsessed with the 7 deadly sins. He's disgusted by how fat the guy is.
So he's
so
obsessed
he wants
with
him
punishment.
to suffer.
Yeah, he's obsessed with punishment, and then by the last couple ones, he sort of starts thinking about redemption, like to see if these people can redeem themselves. Spoilers, they can't. They don't do a very good job of that. But it's funny, like, if you try to imagine that, because, like, obviously with Saw, there's the thing where later on, it's like, how would you even have gotten out of this? Or what was this guy's test? It's like, it doesn't make any sense.
His trap was rigged, stuff like that.
It doesn't make any sense, but, like, I like to imagine this film in that context. Like, like with the drug guy, he's like tied to a table and he just injects drugs in him every day. He's like, I guess you shouldn't have been a drug dealer. Should have appreciated life more.
Oh no, not that line.
in front of you. There's a huge plate of peas. Now, no, stop eating them. Stop.
You should have dealt with drugs. Now you're suffering in a apartment full of scented trees in the ceiling. That's all you get to see every day. Oh wow, you're still alive? What the?
Yeah, that like really horrific. What happens to that guy?
Yes.
And then the next kill is a weird one. I really like the lighting in the shot. It's like got like this cool red. So it doesn't really explain it. It's like you think it's like some kind of sort of prostitution ring or whatever, but everything in like what the actors are in the IMDb and the Wikipedia says that the place that they're at is a massage parlor, but it's like one of those like sex ones, I guess.
So my interpretation is, I thought it was like, you know, the red light district concept.
Because of the red light.
District, yes.
Because inside there's red light.
No, that's just the overall term that they use, like the Amsterdam red light district.
Yeah,
So
I know what you mean. I was just joking.
But the red light does sell the bit.
Well, yeah, but the red light district is just like a thing in a city. There's still like brothel, like the idea is that like brothels and like places to get drugs and lower like income places would be around that basically.
Yeah, basically shady stuff like the whole city itself is. Also, the movie never mentions what city they're actually in, correct?
No, but it's heavily implied to be like whatever the city in The Wire is, or New York. I think it might actually
Baltimore?
just be New York. Yeah, it's supposed to be like Baltimore or like New York or something like that.
Detroit, those style.
Chicago.
Let's see. No.
No. Wait, just like, no, not my city. Not that one. Yeah,
not
like
my
Portland.
city. Just don't go to the south side or west side and you're
Just don't go to two cardinal directions of the city. Those are the bad ones.
Yes.
Yeah. So they have this one. This one's really interesting. He holds a gun to a guy's head who's going in to get a massage. And then he like puts like this fucking weird blade dildo contraption on him and makes him kill that lady.
So were you expecting it to be that when they were like hyping it up? That's a poor choice of words. Like,
or was I expecting the dildo spear?
the build up to
Not really.
Yeah, because like they go to a SM shop and they're like,
yeah. Oh,
so
yeah.
we found this picture with your business behind it. Did somebody commission this? Oh yeah, his name was John Joe. And they're like, you're
That
not
part's weird.
concerned about this. And he's like, no, I seen weirder stuff.
I didn't think about that in the context because it has like a giant blade on the end of it. Yeah, that's wild. It would be like if you went to like a gun shop and you're like, are you concerned about this gun that you sold this guy? But I guess you're not. I guess we're not concerned about the guns.
And the gun is like a backwards barrel.
It's like that thing from Looney Tunes where the barrel is like bending backwards. That's stupid. It's like he has like a decal on it that says like school shooter or something. You're like,
yes. So sorry, I got the timing wrong. So they went to that shop because they found like a receipt for the order.
Mm-hmm.
So they were asking him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, picture." And I was really hoping the guy would be like, "Can I have my picture back, guys? You just walked away with it."
Oh, he did say that.
Oh, he did. Okay.
They were trying to leave, and he's like, "Hey, that's mine. You can't." And then they just leave. That was pretty funny. Yeah. So that scene happens. That's probably like.
Yeah, the SM guy was like really happy about that invention, and I'm like, okay, dude, where did your part of life turn to this? I gotta know.
Yeah, it was something. I thought it was pretty funny because in the next scene, the guy who ends up using the invention, he wasn't very happy about it. I honestly thought when I was watching this scene that the guy who was giving this interview was going to turn out to be the guy, and it was just like a twist. Like because
Um,
it's crazy that this guy was able to go in here and then enter this room and then make this happen without anyone noticing. So in my head, I thought that it was going to be a twist where he was actually going to be the guy who's getting interrogated right here, the guy
yes.
who had to fuck the lady to death or whatever, and that it was like this was like him acting, you know. So I thought that might have been an interesting twist, but that's not what ended up happening. I also thought this shot was cool looking, where they're interviewing the guy on the left, the guy who used the thing, and then the guy on the right is, I don't think he's the guy in the box, I think he's the owner.
Yeah, he was the owner that was arguing with the cop when they enter that hotel or something of the sorts.
Okay, so yeah, that happens, and then they do the Pride one. Not much happens with that. And then after, of course, they have this really great scene where John Joe just enters the precinct, and he literally like waits for Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman to show up, and then he turns himself in right there, and then they get him on the ground, and his hands are like all bloody because the thing with his fingers. And he's like, "I'd like to speak with my lawyer, please," which was pretty funny. I really like that scene.
Yeah, and I love the follow-up conversation they had with the lawyer, where he's just like, well, this is what John Doe wants. He wants you guys to go out in the middle of the field, or he's going to plead insanity, which he can do. And the cops are just pissed at him.
Fortunately, at the time, he couldn't use the Matrix defense because that movie hadn't come out yet.
When did this movie come out?
1995.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, it did come out before The Matrix. Okay.
Okay. Wayne just doesn't say anything. He's just like, all right.
No, you say the years, and I gotta make sure my math was right on that.
So yeah, that happens. They have this really great scene as they're taking him to the place because he's going to show them the thing that he says, which turns out to be true, is that he says he's going to bring them to where the bodies of his last two victims are, which of course in hindsight is really funny that he says that. Because by the time they get there, there's no bodies there, and then there's one body, and then there's two bodies.
So the ride to the location was such a delight. Conversation between John and Mills.
This is like the Brad Pitt scene where he's like actually like I feel like this scene really defines his character a lot. Everything from here on. And he's having this conversation where he's like calling this guy a sick fuck, and he's like, one of the John Doe quotes, he says, "Only in a world this shitty could you even try to say these were innocent people and keep a straight face." And then Brad Pitt has the line where he's like, "You're a fucking t-shirt at best."
Yeah,
that
you're a
line's
monster
really
of the week.
Yeah, that too. Yep, that's part of the quote. I only have the t-shirt part for some reason.
Okay.
So yeah, they have this scene. This is one of the best scenes in the movie. I would say I like the scene more than the finale, but like this whole scene is great. And I like I think I have it here. Yeah, like they keep like showing it through the bars and everything. Look, I have it right here. You're no Messiah. You're a movie of the week.
Yes, and my favorite line on it was John Doe going, "It's more comfortable for you to label me as insane." And Davis just responds with, "It's very comfortable." Because like the context behind it was John explaining that it's so much easier for you guys to label me as insane because you don't understand my mindset, my thoughts, everything. So to simplify it, you just label me as insane.
Yeah, which would be a really cool, deepful thought if he wasn't just insane. But I mean, that John Doe guy, he has some pretty good ideas.
So doing that scene, when I first watched the movie, my mind was racing because I was trying to process what's happening during the scene, and I was like, okay, so who would the two last victims be? Because we have Rav, and we have
Envy.
Envy. So what would it be?
Yeah,
Like,
despite the
doesn't-
fact that I knew what was in the box, I didn't really know what was happening in the scene. And I was like, there's just two guys, and they have John Doe here, and there's a helicopter. Like, what could go wrong? And I was like, in my head, I was like, something's gonna go wrong. Maybe this isn't a good idea.
Yes, and the second time watching it, it's been, I want to say, 2 years, maybe 3 years since I've seen the movie. So I was rewatching it, and I'm like, okay, it's Raph and Envy, but who was the victims again? Like, I knew Brad was Raph, but why
Yeah,
was I was like, why is John Doe Envy? Like I was trying to connect the dots because it's been a hot minute,
Mhm.
and then the scene just clicks, and I go, whoa, oh yeah, right. Like,
Yeah.
even on the rewatch, it still is such delight ending.
Yeah, I really like the shot with all the like power lines or whatever the heck these are. Like, I don't know where the fuck this was filmed, but it looks really cool. It's literally just a fucking road with a line with, like, I don't know, like hundreds of power lines in a row.
Power
this
lines, yeah.
This entire scene is really cool because it's the only time in the movie that it's not like inner city urban building scenes where it's like,
not-
oh shit.
It's not claustrophobic. It's like you're in a much open area. You have a little bit more.
But then it's
space
still
to
claustrophobic
breathe.
because it
Yeah.
has like this fucking metal jungle of electric wires. So like they even like have that going still through the end of the movie. Yeah, I mean,
Also-
obviously.
Yeah, and on the top of it, your mind is racing. You're like, who's the last two victims?
That's not even what I thought. I was just wondering what was going to happen.
Yeah,
Like
too.
I didn't even think about the last two victims. I was just like, what is John Doe gonna do? You know,
Yeah.
he purposely gets himself caught and then does this thing. And it's like, oh, he clearly has something set up to happen. And then of course they get out there and he's like, oh, it's about time. He asks what time it is, and I think Morgan Freeman's like, why the fuck do you need to know what time it is? And he's like, just tell me. He's like, okay. And he's like, oh, looks like it's about time. And then the van starts coming. And then obviously they freak out because they have no idea what's happening. Morgan Freeman goes to go, to go meet with whoever's in the van. And he gets a box. And I think Morgan Freeman looks in the box, right?
So he's like slowly taking it apart. He's like, what can it be? It could be a bomb. It can be, and he
Yeah.
just slowly opens it, and then Brad Pitt just starts screaming at him, "What's in the box? What is it?"
He looks in it, and obviously, thankfully, they don't show what's in the box because that would be pretty grotesque and horrible. So he literally he leaves the box on the ground, or he puts the box in the van and tells the guy to run, and they'll pick him up or whatever. And he comes back. Obviously, Brad Pitt is like, "So, what's in the box?" And his performance is almost silly, like the way he says it, like it's really funny. He's like, "What's in the box?" I don't know, his performance, I lost it a little bit there. I was like, he sounds kind of stupid, but it's and then
He's panicking.
Yeah.
It's almost like he knows what's in the box.
yeah, he has some sort of bad feeling or premonition about what's gonna happen. So he's like, "Ugh." So, and then John Doe starts going off and saying, "Yeah, you're a pretty smart guy. You have a lovely wife." And then Brad Pitt's like, "Stop, shut up, stop talking." And I don't know why they didn't give this guy a muzzle or something, or put duct tape over his mouth.
No.
Because what he says next, of course, revealing that he doesn't so much as say it as imply what's in the box, and it's very clear what he's implying. And so there's the part where Brad Pitt kind of doesn't believe him a little bit, and then he mentions the fact that she was pregnant, of course, which he didn't know. And then when he looks into Freeman's eyes and sees that that's true is when he really loses it and he kills John Doe, making him into Wrath.
Morgan this whole time is just screaming at him, "Don't do it, David. If you kill him, he will win. He wants you to kill him."
That's what he wants. And he does kill him. And yeah, it's a really fantastic scene where this happens. The main character gives in to his emotions instead of being rational, which I mean is, kind of fair considering what happened to him. He got kind of fucked over. And the movie ends in like the most interesting way possible, where it's just him just being taken away in a police car, and then it just ends, and it's like, wow, that was a really good film.
It also ends on that really good quote.
Oh yeah, where he says, Morgan Freeman says,
Ernest Hemingway once wrote, "The world is a fine place and we're fine for." I agree with the first part.
I
agree with the last part. The second part. Fuck.
You tried your best, Lane. I'm not editing that. Could you imagine if I just edited it? So I agree with and then you just in post first part.
No.
Yeah. So great film. Very good choice for the first film. Very straightforward. One of the funny things about the film is that I don't know if you knew this, but in 2002, New Line Cinema proposed a sequel named 8 that would be based on a repurposed script titled Soulless by Ted Griffin about a psychic serial killer who is pursued by a similarly psychic detective, Somerset.
So wait, would you replace the G with a 8 then?
Yeah, that's what it literally shows it right here.
Oh, okay.
And then the idea was abandoned after Principal 7 cast and crew, including Freeman and Pitt, expressed no intention to return for a sequel. Fincher said, "I would be less interested in that than I would in having cigarettes put out in my eyes."
Oh.
And then the script was made into the standalone thriller named Soulless, which was a critical and commercial failure.
Oh, no.
Which is really funny, because this is like one of the only examples, and I guess this is kind of like what's his fucking name? David Fincher? This is like a David Fincher thing where none of his films have actually been remade, I don't think. Which is cool, because, that's... I guess sometimes they can even do it without the permission of, like, the original guy, but, like, so many movies are remade nowadays. It's crazy.
Yeah, and David Fincher is such a unique director. And he's kind of known for his plot twists at the end of movies and that emotional beat. Also, he's really good with humor. It's kind of funny because his last film that he did, The Killer, had a lot of comedic effects, like very similar to Se7en.
He does do a lot of crime thriller movies I was looking at. He did Zodiac, and like there was like another one that came out shortly before Se7en or shortly after. So he's done a lot of crime mystery type movies.
Yeah. The movies I seen was Se7en and The
Fight
Game
Club.
from him.
You haven't seen Fight Club?
Oh, Fight Club. Yes, I seen Fight Club.
Yeah. The Game is also one that I've heard about. And by heard about, I mean I read it on the Wikipedia.
Yes. Okay, so I'll finish on this note. I'm going to send you a screenshot of what I found. So, what I want to do with this podcast project that we have is I want to buy all the Blu-rays that we watch. And so, when I was looking through Blu-rays to buy,
Cool
I found this, which I sent to you,
Is it
Eric.
going to be like the movie in a box? Oh my god, it is.
Yes. It's called What's in the Box Edition.
How much does this cost?
There's no available version that I could find to buy.
Yeah.
It was like third-party stuff.
Yeah.
The cheapest that I could find was like $120.
Oh, that's so expensive. Especially for a movie. That's crazy though. I love the little fucking tree freshener. That's great.
You get... Yeah.
Amazing. This is like this is obviously something that was done in retrospect. Like, I don't feel like David Fincher would like this.
No.
I feel like this is
is
like cringe, kind of, but I kind of like how cringe it is.
Yes, that's why I was like, oh, this is perfect to talk about on the podcast. Just you get the tree freshener, you get the little notebooks, but the fact that it's the box, and oh, I just noticed this. On the box, you see the shadow of Morgan Freeman's outline.
Oh. Well, it's either that or it's supposed to be John Doe in the chase.
It could be.
Could be either.
But still, the fact that there's a shadowy figure is really funny on that.
That's weird because that's just on the box, huh?
Yeah. But
That's interesting.
I was just losing my mind trying to find Blu-rays, and I just stumble on this. I'm like, what? What?
All right, so I went through all my notes. We went through the whole movie. Really great film. Would highly recommend. I'd probably give it a 9 out of 10. I think it was a really good film as a first choice because despite like all the little things in it, it's a very straightforward film. There's not a lot of out of order scenes I mean, there is obviously like themes and stuff, but you can also just kind of set all that aside and just kind of watch it as like a film very easily. It's very like there's a lot of people who watch this film and don't even think about anything to do with Kevin Spacey's character. They're just like, oh, this is a cool film.
They're like, oh, he's a cool villain that's obsessed with the 7 deadly sins. I know what the 7 deadly sins are.
I do know what those are. That's so true. Yeah. Okay. So now that we've done this, I'm going to go ahead and bring up the first part of this terrible slideshow that I made. All right, it ended. So we're gonna go ahead and start with this. This is one of the things I wanted to go over. Obviously, I don't know if this is going to go over super well, but I'm gonna show you my quick couple rules that I made for the movie selection for the podcast, and we'll see how you feel about this. Rule number 1: Eric has not seen the movie. And I thought it would be funny to put this. I put a tiny bit of work into this. I was like I couldn't sleep one night, so I got up and I made this, and it took me like 15 minutes. I put this funny Bird Box challenge image in the bottom right because you can't see like your eyes. Can't.
Oh, I get your little joke here. You haven't seen it. You're not.
Yeah. All right. The film can't be from the last 10 years for now. What do you think about this image on the screen?
I'm waiting for the text box to pop up.
Are you afraid?
No, I'm just curious.
You're not afraid? Okay. When I see these two old people and I see a text box, I start to get really worried.
Is it because you work retail and they're going to ask you something really stupid?
No, because you never know what old people are going to say. They could say many things. Yeah, there's no text in there. I couldn't think of anything funnier, so I thought it was just funnier if it was left.
Just plot twist.
Blank. All right, so this is the one that... This one is going to be a trial. We're going to see if you can do it. I don't know if you'll want to, but you should try, I think. Rule number 3. Movie must have a connection to previous film. This can be any connection, such as a director or an actor or literally anything. Like, there's many other things that it could be. For example, so the reason for this makes discussing what you pick and what you could have picked fun and lets the audience guess what might come next. This is one interesting example. Titmouse, the animation production company, worked on Freddy Got Fingered, and they also worked on the second Borat film. So this would be a connection.
That's basically a deep cut for the sample.
Yeah. I thought going with the weirdest example would be the best. This is so.
Don't worry, Eric. You can just edit all this out.
I'm gonna edit you out. We're gonna be watching Starship Troopers. He's a uncredited voice news announcer on Starship Troopers.
That's a deep pull.
Yeah. So I figure we'll watch this, and then after we watch it, you can try to see if you can find a connection. I'm sure you can. There's a lot of actors in that movie.
So I'm excited for this pick. My question is, did you want to watch this because you've been playing a lot of Helldivers?
No, but I
Okay.
do think that the discussion that has arose from that involving people who don't know what the message of Starship Troopers is funny.
Yes, I'm doing my part.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I've quoted that. I'm doing my part. And of course, I mean, I know the climax of the film again. You know, they're afraid. I know that scene. Wayne's mad again. He's like, how does he know the end to every movie? This guy's crazy.
No, I know you know every ending to the movie because you watch YouTube videos. Whoa.
Wayne, you don't get it. They're afraid. So anyway, the next movie that we're gonna watch is Starship Troopers. Yeah.
Afraid of what? Find out in the next episode.
Find out what they're afraid of. Any last words, Lane, before we close out our 3-hour podcast?
Let's make it 6 hours next time.